Well, I never got banned on TikTok, but I got banned on Snapchat the day before the ban was supposed to happen.
I got banned on Snapchat and TikTok, and on Snapchat it banned my full device. It didn't really affect me.
I logged back into my account on my iPad after I got banned, and I just could still use it.
Australia made global headlines late last year when it enacted a first-of-its-kind ban on social media for children younger than 16. Many countries around the world have followed Australia's lead or are considering similar social media restrictions for teens. But here, the law still faces challenges in implementation. For many teens, getting around the ban has been surprisingly simple.
Snapchat definitely tried harder than TikTok by asking for your ID, asking for your facial recognition. But yeah, I used my face because at first it just let me in, and then I got banned again, and I used my mum's ID, and it just let you in, and you just set it to their birthday.
See, it's all over my For You page.
Same age, same rules. But in practice, the impact hasn't been equal.
Well, I'm fine if they get stricter and they ban everyone, but if they only ban a few people, and then it's not good because it's being left out.
They did it the wrong way, just springing it on people saying you're just not allowed, it's forbidden.
The aim is to protect the mental health of the next generation and avoid online harms such as grooming and addictive algorithms. Under the law, platforms have to make reasonable efforts to keep under 16s off their sites or face fines of up to $32 million US. There are no penalties for kids or their parents.
Oh my God, that's all AI?
Mom, that's
I know it is,
real.
but it's just amazing that people create these things.
Sadie's mom, Zoe Letts, feels disappointed by the way the ban was implemented.
Well, I think that the rollout and the enforcement's been pretty weak. It was a nice try, but probably not well executed. I think they're, emotionally not prepared to see the content that they're seeing, so I thought it was long overdue.
Ms. Letts noticed Sadie using her phone even more.
I do see her more doom scrolling than she has before, so I can see how it's becoming a sort of part of her daily routine. We try to sort of limit her as much as we actually can see, but we're two full-time working parents.
Nearly 80% of Australian adults supported the law, according to a Monash University survey. Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese hailed it as a significant step when it was rolled out on December 10.
My pride to be Prime Minister of Australia has never been greater. This is world leading. This is Australia showing enough is enough.
By mid-January, the government said social media platforms had removed, deactivated, or restricted more than 4.7 million underage accounts. But that number has come under question, with critics saying it includes obsolete, duplicate, inactive, or previously deleted accounts. Authorities are now investigating Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and YouTube to determine whether they have done enough to enforce the ban. Danny Alachi is a father of 5 and co-founder of the Heads Up Alliance. It's a grassroots organization supporting parents who want their kids smartphone-free. He says he wouldn't be surprised if social media giants were flouting the law.
I think it hasn't been very effective because the social media companies have been tasked with implementing the law themselves. And of course, the last thing they want is for this thing to be a success and for us to go around to tell other parent movements around the world that it's working, at 90% plus efficacy.
But he says parents are in an unfair fight against the tech giants and hopes the investigation will lead to a reckoning.
Look, at the end of the day, it comes down to this question. Is the law of the land above the companies, or are the companies above the will of the people?
It's too early to say if the ban is working, but the government is tracking the reading, writing, and math scores of 4,000 students. The goal? To see if less social media improves focus and results in school. But Dr. Timothy Koski at the University of Sydney says there's already some immediate impact.
I anticipated more of a reaction from the people that were impacted negatively. That is to say that they were stopped from doing the thing that they wanted to do. I think that hasn't happened because this policy targets the platforms and doesn't target the kids. That has removed the potential for that massive protest, from that massive outcry that would otherwise have happened if it had been this iron-fisted clampdown.
He says the government's attempt to now hold big tech accountable is the right move.
If a platform manages to get impacted by the ban, that creates the grounds for all of the other platforms to have to respond to that, because that's going to give judges and just the Australians at large a really easy pathway to say, oh no, you should be doing that.
As for Danny Alachi, he believes that while the law may be imperfect, Australia has accomplished a lasting achievement.
We think that what we've done in Australia has cracked open a chink in the armor of social media that now is just going to get wider and wider and wider, and will be a pivotal moment, I believe, in the history of the relationship between social media companies and children.
For now, a world-first ban, still struggling to keep up with the teens it was meant to rein in.
This is the city of Bengaluru in the southern state of Karnataka. It's often called India's Silicon Valley. It has announced plans to bring in the country's first social media ban for users under 16 years old, with several other states also mulling similar measures. But this goes beyond state policy. The federal government is also looking to regulate social media use to protect young people from online harms, mental health risks, and to curb misinformation. But how do you restrict access in one of the world's largest social media markets, where more than 1 billion people are already online? Kirtana is 11 years old and Benika is 6. Every day they go online for at least an hour using their mother's phone.
ನನಗೆ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಫುಡ್ ನೋಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಫುಡ್ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಕಾರ್ಟೂನ್ಸು ಡ್ರಾಮಾಸ್ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟ.
Annapurna Rajashekar says her children mostly watch YouTube videos through her account.
It helps for sometimes because in feeding time it helps for me to sit in one place and eat.
Fewer than 10% of households in Karnataka own a computer, and Benika and Kirtana's first time online was through a smartphone. First for online schooling during the pandemic, and now for entertainment.
I don't know what is good and what is bad for this age. They will have something, so something is coming, we should see.
Ms. Rajashekar restricts their access and monitors the phone to check their online activity, but her brother-in-law worries it's not enough. He says the children spend more than an hour online on most days.
आए तो भी उन लोग पहले मोबाइल ही पूछते हैं, उन लोग गुस्सा आएगा बहुत, वो छोड़ेगा नहीं, वो ना तो पापा को माँ को छोड़ देगा मगर मोबाइल नहीं छोड़ेगा बच्चा लोग.
Ms. Rajashekar and Mr. Manjunath have 8 phones for their family of 7. They tell me owning smartphones is a sign of social wealth and affluence. Driven by smartphone ownership, internet subscriptions in India have more than tripled in the past decade to 970 million. Before the pandemic, only about 1 in 3 Indians owned a smartphone. And to top that, getting online in India is very easy and very cheap. I'm looking here at some data plans and I can get 1 day's data for as little as 20 cents compared to about $4 10 years ago. And that's why we're now seeing a smartphone in nearly every hand. And that's what makes India the world's second biggest smartphone market after China. The latest data shows that 74% of Indian internet users engage with social media alongside messaging and streaming services. Indians also spent more than 1 trillion hours on smartphones in 2024, mostly on social platforms, gaming and watching online videos. For global tech giants, India is their largest and fastest growing market. It's also why the Karnataka government says there's new urgency to act. The state has the highest level of internet usage in India, with penetration at more than 101%, meaning mobile connections exceed the population, according to the state's IT ministry. Officials say around 60% of kids younger than 17 here are on social media sites. Karnataka's IT Minister Priyank Kharge is pushing for India's first ban on social media for children.
54% of children in India are exposed to inappropriate content every day, and we cannot be complacent about it.
So what would implementation in Karnataka in an ideal world look like, and what sort of timelines are you looking at?
We are talking to the social media platforms as well. So we are asking them, how can we regulate content? How can they ensure more stricter age verification methods? How can they ensure the content that is shown to the children is more regulated? We will ensure that we use their tools for progress.
Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, has said it will comply with local laws in Karnataka, but argues targeting a handful of companies won't keep children safe. The Karnataka government says it doesn't want to push children towards unregulated parts of the internet. It is considering awareness campaigns in schools and asking parents to help draft the policy. Officials are also in talks with at least 3 regional governments exploring similar restrictions. The federal government here is also reportedly considering age-based restrictions, potentially a graded system with stricter limits for younger users and more relaxations for older teens. There's also talk of capping daily use, of restricting access at night and mandating parental consent, even drawing on models such as China's 1 hour per day gaming limit. A quarter of India's 1.4 billion people could be affected. But enforcement is the big question mark here, in a country where digital literacy is low. That's the ability to understand and use technologies for meaningful actions. And the government estimates that 3 out of 5 people in India aren't able to do that. In New Delhi, at India's largest government hospital, doctors such as Yatan Balhara are already seeing what unfettered access to social media is doing to young minds. At his social media de-addiction clinic, 80% of patients are under 18. The youngest is 7.
You won't encounter a parent who just lets their kids play with sharp objects like knives. But somehow when it comes to digital devices and internet, there is this assumption that it's a very safe thing. It can just be handed over to them and they will learn what to do with it. So we do encounter kids who have been spending maybe 12 hours, 14 hours in a day using social media.
Grassroots organizations such as the Digital Empowerment Foundation say social media companies must be held accountable, but it's also necessary to teach young first-time users how to navigate the digital space safely.
It is important to have that literacy, to have a healthy relationship with technology. And there I think our recommendation, and of course comes from our learning, that it should be pedagogically now introduced as part of curriculum, not just use cases.
First we have to hold the hand, okay? And then some families are starting to bring that learning home. Chetrashi Prajwal and her husband work full-time, her from home and him at the office. They use social media to keep their 5-year-old child occupied during work hours.
The YouTube videos that are coming now also, there are kind of good videos, and my child, as you said, like she was not able to converse in English. She comes and half an hour she sits, her accent is only different. We have some restriction. TV half an hour, phone 10 minutes per day. 4, 1.
Digital connectivity may have democratized access, visibility and mobility for millions of Indians, but experts and parents say the challenge is striking the right balance, protecting children while preserving their ability to engage with information and express themselves.
France is moving to restrict social media access for children younger than 15. Under the proposal, platforms must verify ages and get parental consent. No approval, no access. It's not law yet, but if passed, France would be among the first nations in Europe to act. The next academic year here in France could bring some big changes for children. The government is debating rules to restrict social media access for kids younger than 15. The move has sparked mixed reactions among teenagers.
Moi, je pense que c'est très bien, parce que je vois beaucoup sur les réseaux TikTok, Instagram, tout ça, des jeunes, surtout sur Snapchat aussi, j'ai dit, genre qui ont 13-12 ans et qui utilisent mal les réseaux sociaux, qui font direct, qui regardent du contenu, on va dire des contenus pas pour leur âge.
Avant 15 ans, c'est vrai que c'est trop tôt et ça conditionne, ça met des idées dans la tête des jeunes qui sont trop influençables et ils peuvent pas encore vraiment prendre des décisions eux-mêmes et être indépendants de ce qu'ils pensent. Et du coup, voir trop d'informations, trop de réseaux sociaux, je pense que c'est très mal. Surtout qu'il y a plein de gens mal intentionnés. Moi, je pense pas que ça soit une solution. Je pense que la vraie solution, c'est l'éducation par rapport aux enfants, de faire de la prévention. Mais on peut pas totalement interdire les réseaux sociaux parce qu'ils trouveront un moyen, dans tous les cas, de contourner ces restrictions.
French MPs had proposed a full ban, but senators prefer a plan to have platforms prove users are 15 or older or get parental permission. But enforcement could be tough. Critics warn teenagers may try to bypass restrictions using tools such as virtual private networks. Rights groups have also raised concerns about freedom of expression. Alice Apostoli is an advocacy officer at Feminists Against Cyberbullying.
It does restrain liberty of communication. It also erodes the minors under 15's right to be in a public space, online space, and also a very important place of socialization for young people.
TikTok says it has around 200 million monthly users in Europe and more than 50 built-in safety features for young users, such as screen time limits, private settings and parental controls. France is not the only European country pursuing restrictions. Greece has announced plans to ban social media for children under 15 years old, while Denmark and Portugal are considering similar measures amid broader discussions about potential EU-wide rules. Spain's Prime Minister wants tech bosses to face criminal liability if their platforms fail to remove illegal or hateful content. Some European institutions, including the Council of Europe, argue that responsibility for online safety should mainly lie with platforms, not governments. Still, President Macron wants the process fast-tracked for the new restrictions to be in place by the start of the school year in September.
Here in the UK, the government is still deciding how best to protect young people from the harms of social media. It's launched a consultation to explore its options. That could include an Australia-style ban for under 16s or less heavy-handed measures like digital curfews, app time limits, or restricting addictive features like infinite scrolling.
300 teenagers are taking part in a national trial to study the impact of limiting smartphone use. For 6 weeks, some will have just 1 hour a day on social media apps. Others won't be able to use them at night, while some won't have access at all. At the end of the trial, both teens and parents will share feedback. There's also an online survey open to children, parents and the public, which has already received tens of thousands of responses, including from children's charities keen to see progress.
Children are being exposed to some really hurtful, harmful content from a very young age, so stuff around their body image, for example, suicide ideation, mental health, people really tapping into children's vulnerabilities about their image and their sense of well-being.
But few children's groups believe that banning social media is the best solution.
If they've been on social media before, they will find a way to access it. And what then happens is it's secretive, it's underground, it's shameful. If something happens on that platform, if they go onto Instagram or they go onto TikTok or they go onto Snapchat and they know they shouldn't be there and something bad happens to them, it's very likely that they're not going to want to tell anyone because they know they're going to be in trouble.
Instead, the Breck Foundation is calling for better education about online risks and stricter enforcement of rules by tech companies. Even though most social media platforms set a minimum age of 13, more than 80% of 10 to 12-year-olds in the UK say they use them. There are business concerns too. Content creators and platforms don't expect significant advertising revenue from their very young users, but research shows early use can shape who they follow and how they spend later in life.
Molly. I'm a willing participant. Thanks, Molly.
Blue Door Productions helps young content creators make videos for social media, and they're concerned a ban could affect creative talent.
Any of the creators that I work with, Zach Alsop, Max Fosh, George Clark, Italian Batch, these are very talented people who started when they were young, who grew up in an era of digital literacy. So I feel, where would they be without those sort of formative years of experimentation and tapping into their creativity online? I work with creators now who started at the age of 12 and by 22 are taking on huge directorial projects. It's a wonderful thing when you see that side of it.
It's one thing to get children to follow the rules, it's another to get technology companies to comply. There's already been pushback, especially from some US tech companies operating in the UK. They say the existing Online Safety Act already goes too far, forcing too many platforms to police content or face heavy fines. Legal experts note the law is designed to apply widely.
Where services either have a significant number of users in the UK, they've got the UK as a target market, or there's a reasonable chance that significant harm will be caused to UK users. So it's all very much tied to this concept of the UK user.
That's why law firms are advising tech companies to take part in this consultation and be ready for changes when the final rules are handed down.
Whatever those precise restrictions may be, they need to prepare, make sure they're on top of existing compliance, and then kind of socialise with their product teams and their engineering teams the fact that they might need to introduce new age assurance technologies, that this might have an impact on growth going forward as well.
Last year, the UK's busiest children's helpline provided more than 3,000 counselling sessions to youngsters facing online harms, such as bullying, grooming and sexual extortion. But with millions of young people now expecting to connect with friends and communities online, campaigners warn taking that away would be a major step, and the stakes too high to get it wrong.